Hey there, friend. Welcome to the show. John's going to be here in just a minute, but he asked me to give you a little tour of his personal art gallery. Shall we? On the top left is an image of Astartes, a project created by the amazing Sayama. John secretly worked on this project, and he'll tell you more about it today, so you won't want to miss that. Below Astartes, you'll find Jago hanging out with some of John's favorite comics. That light box you see made a few appearances in Watch Me Animate's intros. Jago was created with papercraft, by the way, and he's quite cool to see in person. In the middle, you'll see some of John's favorite YouTube banners that have been seen throughout the years. On the right side, we find two pictures of John's favorite video game characters of all time, Jago and Jumper. Jago is Ryu from the Street Fighter series, and Jumper is, of course, Super Mario from the Nintendo Entertainment System. Oh, and on the wall, John scribbled some fun stuff as an homage to some of his best memories growing up. See if you can recognize any of them. Oh, hey, John's here. Enjoy the show.
What is going on, my fellow Chaos friends? It is great to be here with you. My name is Jonathan Abenhaim, and I'm a professional animator, and I also run a YouTube channel called Watch Me Animate. Now, it's been 15 plus years on this animation journey, working on AAA games, mobile games, TV shows, films, and most recently a YouTube project that you may have heard of called Astartes. More on that later on. Now, when I say it's been 15 plus years, I'm referring to my professional career as an animator, but the desire to become an animator and eventually end up creating a YouTube channel, believe it or not, that seed was planted a long time ago. Let me take you on a trip down memory lane, and can we pull up my old Mac, please? I don't know where you are, Mr. VFX. If you can do that for me, please. Thank you. This is my big brother Dan and a Michael Jackson poster in the background. Now, if you don't know who Michael Jackson is, we can't be friends, I'm sorry. In 1977, my brother Dan picked up an Atari. Now, I wasn't born yet, but he was still rocking the Atari in single-player mode, so he says. In 1982, my brother upgraded to the ColecoVision. Q*bert, Zaxxon, and Donkey Kong were some of my favorite video games. In 1985, things got real. The Nintendo Entertainment System arrived to my house thanks to my big bro, who clearly had good taste in consoles. Super Mario and Duck Hunt was what I'd like to call real love at first sight. When 1990 came around, this showed up in my basement, a 386 DX2 66 megahertz with turbo. Turbo was very important back then, and I think it still is. I mean, if you think about it, you can pretty much add turbo to anything and it sounds cool. For example, V-Ray Turbo. Not bad. I know you're feeling that, Chaos. Just remember who gave you the idea. In 1991, Terminator 2 dominated the movies, and I told myself that CIG thing stuff, whatever they call it, that's really cool. And then in 1993, Jurassic Park blew my mind. I told myself I need to figure out how to get into a school that teaches this stuff, and I'll spare you my school adventures because I can dedicate an entire episode to that. But let's just say, I graduated from multimedia and design. Yes, that was the name of the course. And this was my demo reel and a few copies, of course, just in case the mailman dropped the package on his way out to deliver it and damaged the cassettes. That was a thing, believe it or not, back then. To celebrate my school graduation, I got myself my very first camera, a Sony Mini DV Handycam. Editing became my new love after Mario and Duck Hunt, of course. I got myself my first job at Ubisoft, and this was the very first game I worked on, Disney's Jungle Book Rhythm and Groove. When I got my first paycheck, I got myself a cell phone. Batman Vengeance was the second game I ever worked on, and when that game was released, I upgraded the phone to a flip phone. Not bad. The first blockbuster I ever worked on was Splinter Cell. This game put Montreal on the map, but big time, and it also gave me the confidence to try out a new industry, television. But to get into this TV show gig, this company required an animation test. So I got a scene with a velociraptor and was told I could do whatever came to mind. This is what I submitted. Now, this is pretty embarrassing to look at. It's pretty embarrassing to look at this shot and believe I actually did get the job. But hey, I wasn't complaining. Discovery Channel's Dinosaur Planet, that was the show we completed, and oh, was it a special production experience that I do not miss at all. If Chaos invites me next year, I'll be sure to tell you the rest of that story. After that production ended, a good friend of mine from CG Channel asked if I'd be interested in creating an animation DVD. By that time, I had clocked in hundreds of hours editing videos on my Sony Handycam and decided a DVD animation course would be a great test. Now keep in mind, video screen capture did not exist back then, and in order to capture the animation in real time, I literally set my Sony Handycam in front of my screen to record the entire course. This was reality training at its finest, my friends. CG Channel's animation series, Volume 1, Man Walk Cycle. My very first animation course on DVD. It was released on CG Channel, which was the website for all CG news back in the early 2000s. Alrighty, let's continue, but I need my laptop for this part. So, VFX peeps, laptop, please. On July 27th of 2016, I decided to create my own YouTube channel called Watch Me Animate. I challenged myself to create content that would use all of the skills I learned throughout my career and continue to learn. And more importantly, I wanted to show my audience how I approach animation from start to end using a workflow that I continue to use to this very day. Now, instead of animating the coolest high-res models done by industry pros, I decided to go in the total opposite direction to create and animate the most basic low poly models imaginable with no textures. Imagine PS1-like graphics, or if you're a diehard PC fan like me, Out of This World or Alone in the Dark, two amazing games by the way. Learning animation isn't about using beautiful models with rich textures and complex rigs. It's about mastering body mechanics and locomotion and having proper animation workflows. Now, don't get me wrong, I love animating super cool high-res models with complex rigs, but what better way to demonstrate the effectiveness of an animation workflow than to test it against the most basic shape in all of 3D graphics, a cube. When you think about it, I'm literally bringing boxes to life. Now, the characters I've animated on my channel are an homage to some of my favorite video games and films growing up. Jumper's inspiration is, of course, a Super Mario from the Nintendo Entertainment System, one of my favorite consoles of all time. Jacked is a throwback to the original Hulk TV series played by Lou Ferrigno. Shout out to anybody who remembers that. Rex is the legendary T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park film, which was the movie that inspired me to get into computer animation. And Jago is inspired by Ryu from the Capcom Street Fighter series. I have fond memories of playing the original Street Fighter in the arcades, and just so you know, it is way cooler than sitting on your couch and playing it. Animation requires workflows, and the workflow I absolutely love to use is called the layered method. Now, without getting too technical, it means that you're building up your character's performance starting with the driving force, and then you layer in the next body part in the character's hierarchy and continue that process until the entire character comes to life, as you're seeing in this Jago solar plexus strike example. Here's another example with Jago's standing roundhouse kick. Every time the animation repeats itself, you'll notice an improvement in the quality of the animation. That's the layering method in action. I keep layering in another level of detail until the animation looks and feels great. All right, now I've been talking about workflows and my love for the layered method of animation. That's what I use to bring my low poly boxy characters to life on my Watch Me Animate channel. More recently, I've used this very same workflow to help out a friend of mine on the animation and look dev side of things for 2 shots on his Astartes project. I did get Sayama's blessings to share this with you, since these original 3ds Max shots have never been seen before. This is the first time they're actually being shown. So the first shot is a fight sequence between a Lamentor and a group of badass orcs. You're watching the very first preview video I made in 3ds Max, and this was a first pass on the timing. And as you can see, it is extremely rough and totally off, but you gotta start somewhere. Now, as you continue to watch the progression of these shots leading up to the final shot, the main point I want you to remember is that without proper animation workflows, animation is very difficult. I'm sure many of you watching are quite surprised to see that these shots were animated using the 3ds Max biped rig. Now, without getting too technical, most animators understand that the 3ds Max biped does not support F-curves. So, how exactly was I able to animate these shots without the use of F-curves? The answer is workflow. The very same workflow I demonstrate on my channel is the same workflow I use to animate these Astartes shots. When you have a proper workflow, you can animate without F-curves. It's not easy. It is not easy, but Very doable when you understand how to apply your workflow to the shots. Now, don't get me wrong, I love using F-curves, but this Astartes project clearly demonstrates that it's not the software or the rigs that dictate the quality of the work. Now here is the final shot after Seiyama has worked his magic, blowing our minds, and no pun intended, with unbelievable visuals. Here it is again with the sound. This is the second shot I helped on, which had orange Marines fighting off the Tyranid Gaunts. Seiyama sent me a simple blocking of the action and his final Marine animations. My task was to animate the Gaunts and make sure that the action was synced up to the Marines. Now, just to be fair, the Gaunts did have custom rigs that allowed me to animate with F-curves, so thank you, Seiyama, for doing that. It did make my life animating the Gaunts just a little tiny bit easier. Now, although this may look like a final and complete shot, it isn't. I can't say more, but I'm sure you will not be disappointed when you see the final version. Now, a huge thanks to Seiyama if you're watching. It was a real pleasure working with you on developing the animation and look dev for these shots. With workflows in mind, on May 31st of 2021, I announced my new upcoming animation course called Walk Cycles Made Simple, which is scheduled for release around the end of 2021, early 2022. I decided that Walk Cycles would be a great place to start again, since I never really finished what I started way back with my original Walk Cycle DVD. Now, of course, I've learned a lot more about walk cycles since then, and I've had a lot of practice creating content on YouTube, which will make this course really fun to watch and super educational at the same time. Now, without getting into the technicalities of the course, I will say this. I promise you that once you've learned my simple workflow, you will never ever forget how to animate a walk cycle. You'll understand where to start, what to animate, and why, and you'll be able to create awesome walk cycles in any software of your choice. For those interested in learning more about my upcoming course, I encourage you to head on over to my channel at Watch Me Animate and watch the videos I've posted. And you could even sign up to my waiting list so that I can notify you when my Walk Cycles Made Simple course is officially launched. All right, all good things come to an end. Unfortunately, we can't go any longer. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. I had a blast sharing my story with you. If you have any questions or comments, you can drop them in the comments below. You could even reach me via email at watchmeanimate@gmail.com. Show Chaos some love, hit the like, hit the sub, share this video. Go on over to my channel as well, do all that good stuff, and thank you so much, and maybe I'll see you again sometime. Chaos, next year, if you remember. Ciao.